Good blessed Wednesday, October the 27th, 2021. It's about 2:47 p.m. I greet all human beings all around the world with the universal greetings of peace and the blessings of God be with you. Doesn't matter what your political, philosophical, personal, nor your religious beliefs may be. Doesn't matter whether you're the richest to the poorest person on the face of this earth. Doesn't matter if you're my family, friends, nor my proclaimed enemies. Doesn't matter if you're black, white, or any other race or color. Doesn't matter if you're light-skinned or dark-skinned. It don't matter whether you like me or dislike me. Whether you give me a thumbs up, thumbs down on anything I say. I don't make YouTube videos or say anything to get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. All I try to do is awaken people to corruption, cover up, racism, etc. I try to show people the other side. Each story has another side. Sometime when you dealing with, most all the time when you're dealing with corrupted, racist police, and when you're dealing with corrupted blacks that misuse other blacks, you're going to have stories that's consistently changing. And with this death investigation that was supposed to be with my son today, make 222 days since my son was found lynched, hung in Carbondale, Illinois on Friday, March the 19th, 2021 in the 400 block of North Oakland Street in the Gaslight Apartments in the hallway on the 3rd floor. All this paperwork that I'm going over, all of it shows one thing. From the beginning, everything was dealing with a person that killed themselves. This who they said killed themselves. That's my son, Bryan Lamar Johns. May he rest in peace. He didn't kill himself. And the paperwork would show it. Another thing what I want to say before I get into this here. My dad was a World War II veteran, honorably discharged, fought against Adolf Hitler, one of the most racist individuals that was on the face of this earth. But he got a generation that's still here that I'm fighting up against in Carbondale, Illinois, when I'm going up against the Carbondale, Illinois Police Department, when I'm going up against the Carbondale City Hall, which I'm going up against the Jackson County, which Carbondale is in Jackson County, Illinois prosecuting attorney's office, even though it's a Spanish guy who just recently been elected. But you ask a lot of the blacks in Carbondale, Illinois about the things that I'm talking about. Some of them will tell it to you to the side, but they're afraid to speak up. When you're afraid to speak up, you don't fear God. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. But this flag do not stand for me and my household. This flag didn't stand for my son. This flag don't stand for a lot of other black people that's afraid to let it be known this flag don't stand up for them. But you ain't gonna see me burn it. You see what I'm saying? My dad and his forefathers, our forefathers, they built this country. So we have a right to be here. But what I want to talk about now is when you telling the truth, it gonna be consistent. Let me tell you about when me and my two daughters and my grandchildren's, we went to Carbondale, Illinois after we found out that my son was found lynched there, and they was trying to say it's suicide. Now, one of the officers that claimed that they was the first one on the scene, I want you to listen to this real good. You see, it was a guy, it's a sergeant by the name Jared Dunnigan, a white sergeant in Carbondale, Illinois, that told me when I first talked to him on the phone, he told me he assigned himself to investigate my son's death. And he said he assigned himself on the 25th of March, 6 days after my son's body was found hung. But you see, in his paperwork, he said he was assigned to it. But let me show you something, how it's study changing around when it comes to the chief of police. When I tell the chief of police about my canvassing of the scene and the people that I talked to versus the ones that they same ones that they said they talked to, and the chief would call his, I guess he would call that's one of his knights. The Grand Wizard calling his knight to try to correct everything that this black man is saying. But you see, this individual by the name of Jesse Ital, I think you pronounce it Ital, it's Ital. It's a police officer that said that they was one of the first ones on the scene to my son's body. You see, this person said when he interviewed the white female that I end up talking to, see, I didn't seek out her. I was in front of the building. You see what I'm saying? Making a YouTube video speaking about my son's death. And she was up on the 3rd floor in her window and seen me and came down and told me, she said, I heard you speaking about your son. She said, I found his clothes. That was she told me. She found his clothes and she didn't think he killed himself. Now, I want you to see something where the police said that she told her, this Ital individual, what she told him on the day that he went over there. And his report is 3/19, the same month and date and year that my son, 2021, when my son was found hung. He came at 13:27, which is 1:27 p.m. on that Friday. Now, I read his report once, but I'm going to read you what she said she told him. Now, listen to this. Let me see. 400 North Oakland blank, speaking of the female, they got it blank, but it's her, told me the following. On March the 18th, 2021 at approximately 22:30 hours, 10:30 p.m. on the 18th, the day before they found my son, allegedly, someone knocked it faintly on my door. She looked through the peephole and saw nothing. On March the 19th, 2021, at approximately 0800 hours, at 8 o'clock in the morning, on the day that my son was found hung, she said she exited her apartment and saw a T-shirt and a sweatshirt. She ain't said nothing about a hoodie. You see what I'm saying? These Ku Klux Klan police that's doing the investigation, they talking about a hoodie. She ain't said she found no hoodie. In the pictures that she showed me, there's no hoodie in it. But she saw a T-shirt and a sweatshirt lying on the landing right in front of her house. He ain't got that in there, right in front of her apartment. But the pictures will show where she found them at. She photographed it, the clothing, and moved it into her apartment. She never told me she moved them into her apartment, but she did tell me. She showed me the photographs that she took. Then he said, now listen to this here. Now, when we get to the other one, whether the chief of police called this a sergeant that assigned himself or who somebody assigned him, I don't know which one to believe. You see what I'm saying? But you're going to see something totally different on his, and this ain't on the same day. You're going to see that 5 days later. This girl's thing kind of changed. Add on some things. She exited the apartment building door and found a hatchet. Now, you see, if you exited from your apartment and you found the shirts right there in front of your door, whether you took them in your house or not, they was probably already in there, you and your boyfriend, that they didn't question. You see what I'm saying? Probably the one killed my son or had something to do with it, because ain't no question of doubt if they get this white woman a drop, I know, because I be going over there and all she deal with is drug addicts. Black drug addicts and black drug dealers. I know this for a fact. You see what I'm saying? But she found the hatchet laying on the ground. And if you seen where the hatchet was, she would have to go from the first floor down to the second floor, which she took pictures of the mask, but they ain't mentioned in the mask right now. But she does not know who owned the hatchet or the clothing. She knew who owned them. Why did she take them in the house? Okay, Officer Dale Ramsey photographed the hatchet before he collected it. Blank, the female, photographed the clothing on her cell phone before she moved it. She also pointed out a surgical mask. You see what I'm saying? Now, the mask is in the middle of the clothing and the axe, the hatchet. The clothing is on the third floor in front of her apartment. The surgical mask is in the middle on the second floor in the stairway on the second floor. Then you go down to the first floor where it was glass all down there, broken from apparently from a fire extinguisher box. And then when you got to go out of the door and go to the left, at least about 20 or 30 feet, and it's an axe all the way close to the building. Now, what the hell she coming up, looking out her door, getting these clothes? She ain't said nothing about no Walmart food delivery or nothing like that in this, but she had to clear this here up. But this is what she's saying right now. She pointed at a surgical mask that was on the stairs that might have belonged to whoever owned the clothing. Might have, she said. I collected the clothing and masks. The hatchet, clothing, and masks were all entered into evidence. Now, you see what time she said on here, the day of it. Now, when would your memory be more clear, the day of something or 5 days later? Now, let me show you what 5 days later, after Raymond Lewis Ivan and his two inspectors, my 14 and 15-year-old daughters, and my other two inspectors from Chicago, my 17-year-old grandson, you see what I'm saying? And my 14-year-old granddaughter from Chicago, they came down here with me with my 14 and 15-year-old daughter, my 15 and 16-year-old daughters to investigate because we didn't believe these Ku Klux Klans. Now, you see what they said on that. Now, let's see what they say now, 6 days later. You don't hear nothing about Walgreens delivery. You see what I'm saying? You hear that I opened my door. Now, wouldn't you know if you opened your door at 8 o'clock in the morning or 11 o'clock in the morning? I think I would. Now, let's go to this here. The night for the Grand Wizard. The sergeant that's trying to clean up everything that his chief of police who newly elected. Y'all better hurry up and get these people out of here because they're going to be burning crosses in your yard in a minute. They burn one in mine. That'll be the last cross they ever burn in their lifetime. You could take that any way you want to take it, chief, sergeant, and any other you Ku Klux Klans that's in the Carbondale Police Department. And any of y'all at that Rock Hill Church there in Carbondale, Illinois, you Negroes that's selling out blacks, call yourself NAACP members and ministers. Yeah, I said it. If God want to get me, let God get me. But I know God don't like what y'all doing. Now look, this is the Sergeant Dunnigan. Now, you remember he had the one other police officer, the one that I just said that talked to these people. He had him to make a more detailed report because his report didn't meet up to what these other individuals are lying about. So he added stuff on. I met that EMT, he coming through one stairwell and I'm coming to another. Ain't no damn way that they'll be able to meet on the third floor coming through. Only way they can meet on the third floor is coming through somebody else's house. I've been in there before, but they met simultaneously where my son's body was. That's what he said in the beginning until the chief of police got with this sergeant that he has to he called his cleanup man. You see, when in baseball, you had a cleanup man, the fourth batter. You see what I'm saying? If you got bases loaded, you know he gonna clean up. That's me. I'm cleaning up these Ku Klux Klan. I'm coming from the Windy City. But anyway, let's look and see what this individual says here. You remember, he was, let me see, let me get it right. Let me get it right. I don't wanna lose this here. Let me get it. Where is it? Nope, no, I don't want that. Oh, where did I? Okay, here it is. Here it is, y'all. Yeah, this is it. Now, you remember that was the 19th on the day my son died, what she said. Now look this here. March the 31st. Oh, no, this is March the 31st, y'all. This, let me see. This is about almost 12 days later. Watch how the story changed with this white female, this drug addict. You see what I'm saying? Who was in a homeless shelter, and they put her in there to try to help her out. But she ain't telling them about this black dude that was living with her. That she told me about, who was abusive, because I said, I don't want no trouble when she was taking us upstairs to show us what she found the shirt said. If she gonna say that she didn't say that, I would take a polygraph test. My two other investigators and scientists here would do the same thing. And if I have to go to Chicago to get my other investigators and scientists, my grandson and my granddaughter, will take a polygraph test, and let's see who passes it. And I'll pay for all of ours because I know she'll fail it. Just like she probably failed a drug test. But she had a little young black baby. And she told me, I said, I don't want no trouble going up here. You know, she said, no, my boyfriend, he ain't here. He's real jealous and abusive. So I'm not here. And then she said, that's why I locked the doors downstairs where you get in at. But in here, she gonna say she going with the police because they want to say, we saying, how did my son get in there? Because the doors be locked. Now he done had 2 or 3 other people saying, after I went and did my canvases, me and my scientists, then they want to say, well, that door, they even had the mailman to lie. Said the door be open 76% of the time. But let me look at this here. This is Sergeant Dunnigan, y'all. Jared Dunnigan. He said, this is on March the 31st, 2021. It was reported to me that Chief Reno had a conversation with Raymond Ivy, the father of Bryan Johns. I was advised that Ivy disclosed to Chief Reno that a resident of 400 North Oakley Avenue, blank, the drug addict female, may have provided details about her finding clothing in the stairwell entrance to her apartment building that was inconsistent with what she reported to Officer Itel on March the 19th, 2021. It was a big difference. This thing from blank having spoke with Ivy doing his canvas. He forgot to put in there. Don't just give it to me. Give it to my 15 and 16-year-old 2 scientists and investigators, CSI investigators, and my 17 and 14-year-old, my 17-year-old grandson and my 14-year-old granddaughter from Chicago. You see, we're not dumb. Far from it. Okay, Stephen from doing his Ivy's canvas of the building days following March the 19th, 2021. It should be noted that I had not yet spoken with Ivy at this time, and I was not provided specific information that was said to be conflicting. Now, at around 11:11 a.m. on the 31st, the sergeant, I contacted such a blank, the drug addict female, the lying drug addict female, by phone and spoke with her about her initial report to Officer Itel. Blank told me she did not provide any information to Ivy that different from what she reported to the police. Subsequently, the information blank provided me was the same information she had provided Officer I tell. Naturally, the sergeant gonna say that this female provided him the same information that she provided with her. But once y'all look and listen to see, all you have to do is just see. You don't even have to be there. You don't even have to be scientists like my children and grandchildren are. All you have to do is pay close attention. Now, Blank provided details. She recalled about the location and orientation of the clothing she discovered, which was consistent with the photographs of the clothing taken by Blank and provided to police. Now, check this here out. You remember this girl had photographed everything before the police even got it. She come out of her house. Now we got to determine whether she came out of her house and seen the clothes at 8 o'clock in the morning, or when she's saying now 11:13 in the morning. But let's. Okay, Blank said the only difference in information, the drug addict female said the only difference in the information was the time and the time she located the clothing, originally believing it was earlier in the morning. Now see, they seen what's going on now. Something ain't right if she found the clothes at 8 o'clock in the morning and the police said my son they didn't get over there until 13:27. What is she holding on to all this stuff all this time? So she got to get it close to the time that they came. Now look, believing it was earlier in the morning, she thought it was early in the morning. Now, Blank, the drug addict female, told me that on the 19th of March, she did not know how to determine the exact time of day the photographs was taken. Since then, she done did some research since the Ku Klux Klan sent its knights over there to talk to her. Since then, she done found something different 12 days later. Now, since then, Blank, the drug addict female, said she learned of this method and found the pictures to have been taken at 11:13 a.m. Not at 8. She didn't take them at 8 now. It was 11:13. Now, what they should have did was took her phone from her, got a warrant and took her phone from her and found out themselves instead of taking her word for it. But one thing about it, she's a white female. It's a black individual dead, and they don't want no uproar for racism because it's too many white folks killing blacks and they saying it's suicide. Now, she recalled she was expecting, this is how she get to the 11:13. She didn't remember that on the day that's when she was expecting this, but 12 days later she did. She recalled she was expecting a Walmart grocery order delivery at around 12 o'clock noon. Everything around 12 o'clock noon. The mailman said he came around 12 or 12:30. He been on a route for down there 2 years and he don't know what time he come. The resident said he be coming about 1:30 or 2 o'clock. But anyway, she was expecting now all of a sudden 12 days later she was when the night of the Ku Klux Klan come to pay her a visit because the Grand Wizard sent them over there to change stories. See, I believe what's going on now because a lot of whites that don't want to talk, they scared of these people, but I ain't scared of them police. I take them sheets off and burn them. But anyway, Blank told me she was barefooted. Now listen to this here. She didn't tell the initial guy. Now she remembers she was barefooted 12 days later. Blank told the drug addict female told me, he didn't say that. That's what I'm calling her. A liar and the truth ain't in her. The chief said my son got demons in it, or he was fighting demons. He was fighting demons like this female and her boyfriend and whoever else probably had something to do with it. But Blank told me she didn't tell the initial police, but she told the night. See, he high ranking. Blank told me she was barefooted and walked it down to the ground level landing in the stairwell. Now, she walked down to the ground level. Once she got down to the ground level, she barefooted. That no doubt glass was going to get in her feet, and she probably was bleeding, and they probably got the glass, because I ain't hearing them saying nothing about taking the blood samples off no glass. Her feet probably got cut when she made it downstairs. She's saying that she went down there. Let me keep on for y'all I won't lose you. But she made it down to the ground floor, barefooted, y'all, to the stairwell, and discovered, ain't that something? You don't have to get, when you see that, where that glass was, you don't have to get all the way down to the landing to see this glass on the ground broke. She discovered broken glass when she got down to the landing. At least she must be blind in one eye. You see what I'm saying? And can't see out of the other. As a result of being barefooted, now she have to clean this up real good. As a result of being barefoot, she returned to her apartment. You see what I'm saying? Now, she's expecting a package at 12 o'clock. But you took the pictures at 11:13, so if you're expecting a package at 1 o'clock, what you going downstairs for this early? But, you know, when you're lying, you got to try to make it look good. You know, okay, she returned to her apartment, collecting the clothing on her way back to the apartment. Blank said she did not collect the surgical style mask, face mask. You remember he mentioned the face mask and this, and the face mask was in between to get to the hatchet from her apartment where she said she found the clothes. She had to go past the surgical mask. It's in the middle of both of them. If she noticed the glass down there, glass is clear. The floor is white. She had to see that blue mask. Eventually she got it. But she did not collect the surgical style mask. After gathering her shoes, she exited the apartment and she exit her apartment and exit the building. She exit the building now, at which time she discovered the hatchet, which was later collected by the police officer. Blank said she did not touch or move the hatchet. You know, the hatchet had duct tape on it, and if you see the tip of it, you can see it brand new. Who would put duct tape on a brand new thing? Such and such knew what that thing was. Her fingerprints might have been on it, or that abusive, violent boyfriend of hers that came up missing, his fingerprints might have been on it too. But she did not move that. She told me the only noise she heard the night/morning prior to the incident was what she believed was a knock on her door. She did not hear anyone talking or fighting or any noise that was alarming to her. It had to be alarming. She told me and some of the neighbors when she heard something on her door, she looked out the peephole and she told us she seen a figure going past. She recalled that the door leading outside was unlocked, allowing access to the hallway. Now, she put that in there because we were saying, how did my son get in? Now, all of a sudden, they trying to find her. They had the paramedics. I mean, not the paramedics. They had the mailman. They had one of the police claim he pushed the bar, but we ain't going to even talk about that. She said she or another resident must have failed to lock the exterior door that night, but she/they have since been locking the door regularly. But see, she had told me she had been locking it already because her abusive boyfriend is real jealous and he was beating on her. That's what she told me. And I'll take a polygraph test of that. And I told the police on August the 10th, 2021, me and my two daughters went to Carbondale, the Civic Center, where they had a city hall meeting, and I mentioned that in there. Did you question this boyfriend of hers that disappeared, that's supposed to be from East St. Louis? But they didn't. But this is just to show you something, how they change stuff. Now, how is it that on the day of this incident that you all of a sudden learned how to use your phone? You used it good enough where when you found the t-shirts, you had it written on there, whose is this? Look what I found here, the surgical mask. And then if you say you remember you had some food coming to be delivered from Walmart at 12 noon. Now it's 11, so at 12 noon, it don't take you do it take you 47 minutes? Or 47 minutes to get downstairs from the first floor to the third floor? Do you have COPD? You see what I'm saying? Do you have some type of upper respiratory disease that you can't make it down there? But you went there, you just so happened to open your door now, since the night of the Grand Wizard come to you, you done open up your door at 11:13 a.m. That's a big difference than 8 o'clock in the morning. But I bet you if they'd have did their research right and talked to some of the other people that this girl talked to, even the maintenance man, they wouldn't have the same story that she telling the police. She told the police that everything that they got up in here has been fabricated. They wouldn't have you to believe that my son seen me murder somebody when he was 8 or 9 years old. But if you do the research and see where my son was at and where I was at when he was 8 or 9 years old, you would see it was no way possible. Remember, my son did 14 years and 9 months in the penitentiary from 16 years old until he got out when he was in his 30s. And then during the time he was, when he was younger, most of his time I was in prison. But when I wasn't, me and my son and his mother, I wasn't staying with my son or his mother. They saying me and my son, mother was abusing him and we always fight. When I went to the penitentiary, my son was 4 months old. And when I got out, me and his mother never been back together again. So how is we being abusive to him and she's staying with somebody else and I'm staying with somebody else and I'm working on the ambulance? So when did he see me kill somebody? And if he did tell y'all that, then you must be incompetent, because I would follow up if I did all this damn shit y'all did up in here. Y'all excuse my language. I would follow up, especially by me to have 2 manslaughter. That's what y'all know, that I've been convicted twice of manslaughter, but they was murders at first. Both of them, I turned myself in because somebody was trying to kill me and I killed them and turned myself in. They wasn't looking for me. I turned myself in. You see what I'm saying? And went to trial, not a jury trial, bench trial both times. And each time the judge told me, you're not a violent person, Mr. Ivy. You need to just change your geographical location. Because if I was violent, the attacks that I had here in Charleston, Missouri, I'd have mass murders. The mess that y'all did down here, I would have mass murders in Carbondale, Illinois, because you took my son's life. And then you pacifying an individual that was convicted when he was 17 years old, a murder, and it was drug connected. And he get out working for these grassroots places, and he called himself a Muslim. But ain't damn black saying nothing that he doing for the black community. He married to a white woman that's a school teacher at the Rebound, Carbondale, Illinois, Rebound High School, where the alternative people is that's going for alternative high school. And she a parent educator, and they spending my son food stamps. But they said that they was trying to help him. Just like the police trying to help him. Everything they showing, you see, the police, the Sergeant Draper said he seen my son on the corner of Main, East Main, in North Walls. That same night for the Ku Klux Klan, he said that they checked and they couldn't see my son on that corner neither, because they couldn't see him because it was 7-something in the morning. The girl found my son's shirts 8. Now it's turned to 11. But since they couldn't see my son at 7 on this thing, They had to have the girl to change her timing. You see what I'm saying? Because the sergeant on his way to work, he knew he didn't see my son because him and the rest of them might have plotted to kill my son. But let me tell y'all one thing. I would go to my grave proving not only that the Carbondale Police Department is ran by Ku Klux Klan white supremacists. I'm thinking about coming down there on Halloween with a Ku Klux Klan outfit, going in front of the Hill Rock or Rock Hill Church, the police department, go to Murphyboro to the prosecuting attorney's office, go to Murphyboro to the Jackson County coroner's office, and march around all you house Negroes at SIU that won't speak up. Spend 222 days, all you Negroes at SIU that sit around here marching, talking about stop the violence, and you Negro, you big heavyset Negro around here singing the African anthem. You are fake and you are fraud. And you know who I'm talking about. I gave you one of my son's obituaries. You and that NAACP legal advisor. Peace be still.